Hello and welcome back to Kssb Podcast. Happy New Year. Hope you had a great Christmas break and good New Year. This is our second live podcast session. We've done this once before. And we've got Bucky and Melissa here from Miller's Rustic Sawmill.
Hello.
Hello.
Thank you guys for having us today.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
We're excited to be here. I'm Melissa, and this is my husband, Bucky.
Hello.
So, go ahead. Do you guys want to go ahead and kind of tell us how you got your start in milling and whatnot?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sure, I'll do that. He's gonna let me do a lot of the talking today. Let's see. Bucky had done tree work most of his entire life, about 20 years, probably. From the time, how old were you, Bucky, when you started?
No, 17 when I started doing tree work.
So he had worked with a tree company, and for that tree company, they would take down trees from power lines and different things like that. He got a lot of experience working with the company that he worked for and the guy that he worked with. And about 2013, he decided he wanted to be closer to home instead of traveling around quite a bit. And so he asked that owner of that company if he could break out their sawmill that they had just sitting around not being utilized.
Yeah, we had a sawmill that we had bought over in Leavenworth Prison back in 2005. They were clearing out a bunch of walking trails, and we bought a brand new sawmill, went over there, sawed up all the lumber out of those, and just shipped them green on flat trucks. And then we had parked it probably in 2007 or 8, and it hadn't been used any, and it was a brand new mill basically. So we didn't have a use for it though.
Yeah, so he pulled it out and just decided to start cutting up some logs and learn the whole process of that. And that took quite some time before you figured that out. You did a lot of research yourself. So the mill that we're talking about, it's this big piece of machinery, and it sits inside of a shed, and it has a blade on it that cuts long ways, like the size of this table, through the logs. So it would make, big slabs of wood. And once we got those done, we could turn those into lumber or, other things. So between that and researching how to properly dry the wood, we kind of just started rolling with it. Bucky built a kiln.
Yeah, in 2015, we decided we'd been cutting green lumber and shipping it, so we decided to go ahead and put a kiln in, and the live edge, I guess, niche or whatever you want to say, was coming into effect at that time, and we had some real big logs, so we decided to go ahead and slab a bunch of them up and put them in the kiln and start selling live edge slabs for furniture. And then in 2000, so that started going pretty good. We started getting a customer base out at the mill. And then in 2017, we ended up buying a little church shop in King City. It was an abandoned church. Started building a little bit of furniture, but it wasn't very big. It's only like a 20 by 30 church. And that started taking off, and we got so busy, we were getting booked out 3 or 4 months. So then we bought the old grocery store uptown, which was 6,000 square feet. And now we're booked out until May on just custom built furniture. We're shipped in all over the United States. So it's just kind of been a blessing that has worked out. And we're starting to revive our little town. We've added 5 businesses the last year and a half on Main Street. We have a med clinic moving in next year. We're opening a bar next year.
This year.
Well, this year, yes. I keep saying next year. Yeah, this year. But yeah, so that'll be like 7 businesses we've added the last year and a half to our little town of 900 people. So
now we've talked off the air, and I'll add all these businesses, and that's all great. Something else you're starting up this summer is something called Sawdust Fest. You want to hit on that?
Ooh, yeah. We're excited about Sawdust Fest. So we had our first one last year. This will be that determined if we would have another one and try to make it an annual event. The guys were all sitting around in the shop one evening talking about, different things. And they thought it would be really fun to have something that celebrated the love of wood. And we've grown our customer base to a pretty broad area all around the country, actually. And we thought, man, there's a lot of other festivals around the country. What if we did something that was maybe geared towards guys? And let's hold this event on Father's Day weekend, and let's give them something to do with their families. And so we set up, we connected with 7 guest demonstrators who we invited. They're also customers of ours. We asked them to come set up in our little town right in front of our business and inside of our business and show their skills. So we had a chainsaw artist who was outside carving with a chainsaw. We had a pottery maker who was firing pottery outside of our business. We had a knife maker who was doing some blacksmithing outside of our business. And then inside we had a luthier, which is an instrument maker, and he uses our wood to make instruments. We had a wood burner who was burning on some wood, and we had a scroll saw guy who was using his scroll saw, and then we had a painter, an artist who was painting. So, and it was just really, really cool. All of these people, these makers, use our wood in their business, and so we invited them to come spend the day at Sawdust Fest, and we were also kicking off our first ever belt sander race. So we had these belt sanders that we decided we ran across the fact that you could race belt sanders. So we built a track and we hosted our very first belt sander race, Sawdust Fest of 2022. And we had a beard contest that day. We had
some games set up that the school kids
that were
used
like
for a fundraiser.
log throwing and log rolling. It was a fun little area to go do some games. And then we had probably, I think our turnout was over 500 plus people that came through just our little tiny main street that day and shopped and watched the demonstrators and just hung out for Sawdust Fest. So
that is super cool.
It was really cool.
It really is.
It was really cool. So we're excited to do that again this year. And it's going to happen on, I think the date's June 17th for Father's Day weekend. And that is a Saturday. So I know, Jimmy, you want to come up there so bad.
Yeah.
We've talked about that.
Yeah. And Sunday they have a big car show. The reason we picked Father's Day weekend, not only to cater to the dads, because the dads you really can't think of a festival a dad wants to go to, but other than that, there's a town 12 miles away that has an enormous car show on Sunday, and they've done it for several years.
Yeah, so like
so
since I
people
was a
coming
kid.
out of town, people coming out of town can come in and go to our event on Saturday, and then have the car show on Sunday, and just make a weekend of it.
That'll be a good time.
Yep.
All right.
What else you want to talk about, Jimmy?
So what got you guys into we're gonna shift gears here. Let's get into the Make 48 stuff. What got you guys into Make 48? What's the story?
Oh man, I have to tell this story.
Yeah.
Because it's a good one. And actually our business is how we connected with Make 48. We had a supply of walnut wood that so many years ago when Make 48 was in one of the warehouses located in North Kansas City. They were just kind of getting their start too. There was a guy that shared that space with Make 48, and he owned a company called Groove Washer, which is a record cleaning kits maker. He makes these record cleaning kits. And at that time he was using the walnut to create handles for the kits he was making to sell. And he came up and ended up getting some walnut from us. And Bucky and I drove down here in the lumber truck. I think it was one of our very first deliveries in the lumber truck.
Yeah.
We brought it down and unloaded it into this warehouse. And this gentleman, his name is Stephen Chase, he was actually here on site for the competition. He came, and showed us the space of the Make 48, and he was telling us what happened in there and what the goals were, what they were doing. And he was like, you should meet my friends, Tom and Amy Gray. You would really like them. And, we went and had dinner that night with him. And then I think it was probably maybe that next year.
Yeah, it was right after the first season.
We got a phone call from, I don't remember if Stephen called us first or something, but he was trying to find some wood for one of the Make 48 prototypes that had won one of the competitions. And it was a chopping block, and they were needing some help with some prototyping. And so we, set up a date for the CEO of Make 48 to come up to our sawmill business. And I happened to be working some other jobs, another job at that time too. So I was not around. And this was back when we had kind of first started our supply too. So, Bucky, my husband, who is a jokester, was at the sawmill that day. And I knew that this CEO was coming to.
We had never met him.
No, we'd never met them, but I was nervous because my husband was going to meet the CEO of this company at our sawmill. And our sawmill, for anyone that's never been there or been to a sawmill, is, at this time it was not on our property, but it's in a big 40 by 60, metal building. It's cold, it's sometimes windy, it's sawdusty, there's all this dust everywhere. It's not pristine like walking into a corporate business. It is all outside, rural, out in the country. And so not only, was I like, oh man, we've got to clean this place up, the CEO guy is coming, and we've also got to, just make sure that we're on our best behavior.
I'm good at that, right, Jimmy?
Yeah. So
that was Tom. So Tom came pulling into the sawmill that day, and he had one of his friends with him from New Zealand, and got out, and he had went and bought sheep. Tom is a sheep farmer, so he had actually picked up some sheep that day, and here they come pulling into the sawmill, and Bucky goes out to meet them, and they just hit it off like. Bucky had no clue he was the CEO whenever he got out of his truck. He was dressed in his boots and jeans, and I didn't hear from my husband for like hours. So I was trying to get a hold of him because I was wondering what the heck was happening, how things were going, and
Me and Tom are having fun.
Yeah. So I was really nervous. I was like, oh man, what just happened? It actually was the beginning of a beautiful friendship and a great, way to partner with them on some things that we never would have expected to happen.
Yeah, it really, I'm sure it helped grow, both businesses too. You have them growing because, prototypes, and you growing because, exposure to Make 48. So, it works really well both ways anyway.
Absolutely. It's been a great benefit for us as a business as well. And, we've got to experience their competitions. We've got to supply wood to several different, projects through them as well. So it's been fantastic.
Thank you, by the way.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Since I was there and I took advantage for sure. That's about all I could say, but yeah.
Yeah, that's what we do.
Yeah.
That's what we do.
When you own a business, you never turn down any opportunity to meet somebody else because you never know where it's going to lead. And we've been very fortunate. People we've met, that's kind of the reason our business has kind of thrived and survived through the last couple of years of COVID and everything. And it's been really fortunate.
Yeah, so that's the way a lot of businesses are, it's crazy to think that some really good ideas in the business world have gone down just because they haven't had enough like marketing or like exposure to people.
Yeah,
I mean, that's a whole topic we can go on, but like it's a whole thing where like a lot of great ideas didn't get a chance to catch on because they didn't have the, people, and that's the
Yeah.
difference.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
is.
it does make a big difference. That's something that we take a lot of pride in our business is there's very few things that we ship online because wood is heavy.
Oh yeah,
And it's not, and a lot of things that we build or that come out of our shop we would not necessarily even trust someone else to ship across the country. So they're, the end product sometimes of the things that we build with the pieces of wood in our shop is, they're just custom made and one of a kind, and you can't really rebuild it if something happens to it. So we take a lot of pride in having people come to our town to meet us and into our business to visit with us, just to see what we're about and see what we are able to create for them.
super cool.
Yeah.
So when you guys are shipping stuff, do you physically drive it down there to the people, depending on where it is?
We have delivered a lot of stuff, actually. We delivered a slab clear to Texas one time and met with the builder down there and finished the table and then delivered it to the customer. We have a bar going to North Carolina right now that we're building. He is going to drive back, and we're going to load it in a truck, and he's going to take it home. But we've shipped very little stuff through another company. Most of our customers, we have a table in North Dakota that the people came down, picked up the lumber, went home, and then came back down and picked up the table whenever it was done. So just stuff like that means a lot to us. Whenever you can look somebody in the eye and see that they're happy with it, you're not sending it on a truck and just taking their word for it over the phone. You get the hands on with them. So
Yeah.
that's what really means a lot to us, is the personal part of it.
That's a great way to grow business too.
Yeah.
It is. And just because you're going to meet people, you know who your customers are. That's been the funnest and most eye-opening to me. Melissa does a lot of Facebook stuff, and really, besides Facebook, we haven't advertised anywhere else. It's all been word of mouth, basically.
Yeah,
And that's the great part of it. So
indeed.
All right, so Bucky, question for you.
okay.
What was it? When Tom brought the idea of me coming out and cutting with you, were you nervous at all of like, my God, this kid's blind and he's gonna come out here and cut?
Actually, I wasn't. I took it as a challenge. And then, like I said, whenever I got to know you guys and getting comfortable around, what your guys' capabilities are, you can ask Melissa. I'm probably my worst own enemy, because I take a challenge and I just run with it. I don't get nervous really. So I enjoyed doing that with you guys.
That would have been a lot. I didn't know you were doing that. Otherwise, I would have totally showed up. That sounds like far too much fun.
Yeah, it was a good time.
That's cool.
And if you explain stuff and just take your time, that's just, even, with you guys being visually impaired, even somebody that can see, it's a dangerous piece of equipment, but
Oh, yeah.
taking your time to learn what it's going to do and things like that. That's why we went over the whole machine. I just felt confident you could do it.
Yeah.
So I wasn't really worried about it.
Now, Melissa, how did you feel about it? Were you nervous at all? Were you,
Yes.
here we go.
I'm always nervous. I am just wired that way. And Bucky is the complete opposite. So I worry enough for both of us, I guess. But I you know what? I did trust him. I knew you were in good hands, and I would not, he would never do anything, that would be dangerous or anything like that. So I knew I just might not be able to watch.
I kind of enjoy making her nervous every once in a while too. I'll tell you about one meeting we had real quick. We had a meeting with a company, and they were like, yeah, if these go to market, I think we can sell like 500 of these. Would that be a problem to make? I'm like, no, not a big deal. And we walk out of that meeting 20 minutes later, and I get smacked in the arm. What are you doing? How are we going to make 500 of those? And I'm like, we'll figure it out. It's okay.
Yep.
we would have made it happen somehow.
Did it happen?
No, it didn't happen.
Oh,
No.
man.
That would be fun. That would have been a fun
But
follow-up
not on
story.
our end,
So
not
that
on
kind
our
of makes
end.
me right?
Yeah,
we
for
made
sure.
it happen.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, she was a little nervous on that.
Yeah. That makes sense.
So I hear you've been stalking our page and got some questions for us.
Yeah, we have some people in the back. Somebody want to come and ask a
Okay.
question?
So, a question I have, what inspired you to start your business?
Well, actually, I was the one inspired by just wanting to work at home. I had 3 really young kids at the time, and one that was a teenager. But I was a single dad, wanting to be home more with them. And I'd also seen all these logs for 25 years. I worked for the same company. We had thrown tree after tree in a ditch and wasted it. And I was like, man, there's got to be some good use for that. So we decided, hey, there's a sawmill sitting there. Let's do it. And it worked. So kind of spur of the moment.
Do you still have the original machine?
Yes, we do. We're still running it every day.
That's
What
cool.
machine do you use?
We use a Woodmiser. It's the biggest portable. It's an LT70. It'll cut a 36-inch log by 20 feet long. It's a blade machine, all computerized. We've had a lot of problems over the years with the electronics on it, but being outside all the time and cutting sawdust, it's kind of meant to be, I guess.
That makes
But
sense. I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's crazy how they put computer components inside of machines like that and don't expect problems. That's the thing, is I don't know, I feel like there should be a lot more fail-safe types stuff going on there to minimize those issues. But
Yeah,
hey,
yeah,
that's just my opinion as a up and coming kind of technology person. Is like, we need more fail-safes. Like, this shouldn't just fail so often.
Yeah.
But it makes sense in it too.
Yeah, and we ended up on our farm, we built a 40 by 120 foot building that we ended up putting it inside, and that's helped a lot. So just to keep it indoors.
Oh my word.
Yeah, it's a big building.
Does your business require any use of technology?
So I can answer that because I use technology all the time. I'm on the computer a lot. As far as marketing, I do marketing on the social medias. So I'm editing, I'm filming, I'm recording, photos, different things. I'm on the computer and on my phone a lot. So definitely we use technology as far as the phones and computers. There's also technology in our machines as far as the sawmill business. So an old time sawmill, you would have had to manually, I think, push the saw blade through a log. So if you can imagine a tree on its side, after it's cut down, you've got the log, and this saw blade is operating fast enough to run through and cut this into this tree. The technology we use at the sawmill is you stand at a machine and it's got controls, and it controls the entire part of the saw blade and all of that, so there's less danger as well.
Oh yeah, so it'll scan and know when it's time to move forward and stuff.
How old are these machines?
How old are they?
Yeah.
2005.
A 2005 model is our sawmill.
Mhm.
Okay. And so then we also have this other machine, and it's called an edger. And a lot of times people want to know how boards are made, like the wood that you go to the lumber yard and you get these nice straight boards. The boards that we cut on our sawmill have to go through another machine that rips the whole edges off of the board in order for it to come out straight.
And it'll make different sizes.
That's interesting.
It is very interesting. So on that machine, we're able to set the size of the board that we want. And then after, so you take the piece of wood off of the sawmill log and you turn around and put it onto the edger and you push it through this machine. And as it goes through the machine, it just rips right down the side of it and makes a nice straight edge. So it's taking all of that rough bark. If there's bark on it, it's taking all of that off of there to make a straight board.
Cool.
So there's technology in probably most of our machines.
Yeah,
We use a
the
lot
sander.
of saws that have technology in those too, but probably the most important, I would say, technology would be the technology of our sawmill.
Yeah.
And the capability to stand back away from any of the dangerous stuff and run that.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Thank you for asking.
You're welcome.
Indeed.
All right, Miss Lydia, I got a question for you.
Oh.
What you got?
So, as as far as running the whole makerspace and all that, when they said, "Hey, let's go cut," were you nervous let me go out there and cut and whatnot, or
You know,
what were your thoughts?
I wasn't the one overseeing the cutting. So I wasn't nervous necessarily, but today is Thursday, January 19th, and the Make 48 KSSB sizzle reel was just released today. That is like a sneak peek into Make 48. And there is a part in there, Jimmy, where somebody's asking you if you've ever used, I think it's a miter saw before or something. And you're like, yeah, I've used it. And then there's a shot of you just like so slowly, like you do this every day, shooting that piece of wood through the saw. So knowing I wasn't scared. I mean, there was a lot of good experts around. I mean, one question our group did have is if anyone's ever injured themselves in the work that you guys do. But no, I wasn't nervous about you, Jimmy. Not necessarily, other than being a ham around a lot of power tools.
Let's go.
Jimmy.
I do have a question though, or a question from our group. I don't know if you guys covered this or not, but on your website it talks a lot about live edge wood and kiln dried wood. And I don't know if you guys have answered that or not, but what is that?
We have not.
What is that, and what makes it special?
Okay. Well, I'll explain this maybe the best I can, and then I'll let Bucky explain. Live edge wood. So if you were to go out into your yard and chop down a tree, or if you had a tree on your farm that came down and you could get a big log out of that. Let's just say a log like the size of this table that we're sitting at, maybe. And it would be, it would be brought into our sawmill. And so what live edge means, it means instead of it going through that edging machine I told you makes the boards, we leave the natural part of the tree intact. So as the saw blade cuts through that log, we can set it to make, let's just say, for the sake of description, about the thickness of this table. We can cut through that log and the blade will run the length of that whole log, come back, drop down, and keep just slicing that log into slices, big long slices, if you can imagine. And live edge means that we are leaving the whole log intact. So the log, if we were to lift that off of our sawmill, it would still look like the log, but it would have all of these slices now through it. And we would leave the natural part of the outer part of it all intact instead of running it through the edger to make straight boards out of it. And from there, it goes into air drying. And so the reason, we educate, probably 80% of our business is educating people on wood and the process of drying it and why that's important. So if we were to go out here in the KSSB yard and cut down a tree, let's just say.
Mr. Harding would love that.
Oh yeah.
Let's go.
Jimmy did it. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Bucky helped.
He would not love it at all.
I would though.
So sometimes whenever you take a chainsaw to a tree, there's water in it. Why would you think that there's water in it? You guys are smart. Why would there be water in that tree?
Because it's outside and moisture and yeah.
Yeah, and
Has
it's
to grow.
living, right?
It
Yeah,
is.
yeah. So it's got water inside of it. And sometimes whenever you cut into those trees with a chainsaw, the water will start spraying out on you and your pants will be soaked. Bucky knows this. He's done it. So those logs with all of that water in them, cannot be made into furniture. They cannot be used. Like, we couldn't go out here and just start cutting those pieces up and think that that water is going to all come out of it, because it's not. It's got to be properly dried. So at the sawmill, what happens is those logs come in and they get sliced. Well, once that they're sliced, a lot of the water will come out of them. But then they've got to go and either sit in the air and air dry for a little while, or they've got to go into our kiln. And our kiln looks like a small garage. If you can imagine that in your heads, it's a small area, like you could fit a car inside or a couple cars inside of it. And we have to stack all of the wood that we sell, all of those, we call them live edge slabs because we're not turning them into lumber. We stack them all in, and then we
Put
close
laths in between.
so they're spaced out so that they're stacked not directly on top of each other. They're stacked with something in between. And then we shut the kiln all up. All of the doors get sealed, and then we turn on a system that we have that Bucky has also put together. It's got fans, and it cooks this wood. Basically, it's gonna cook it for like a month or more, sometimes
About a month per inch.
So if we have 1-inch slabs in there, they're going to take a month to get all of the water out of them and get them dried. If we've got a 2-inch piece, it's going to take probably 2 months.
So that's like at constant power for a month. Yes.
Yeah, it runs
It's always on.
125 degrees
Oh,
in
okay.
there, plus the 3 fans circulate air, and then it has a dehumidifier that's pulling moisture out.
Yep. Okay.
And that dehumidifier will pull 5 gallons of water a day out of that kiln
Wow.
for about 15 days, and then it drops down to about 3 gallons a day for the next week, and then it'll pull about 1 gallon out for the last week that it's in there. So it's about 90 gallons a cycle is what it, or a month it'll pull out of that lumber. So the lumber has a lot of wood in, or a lot of water in it.
Yeah, clearly.
Yeah. And a lot of times people don't have any idea. They'll come in and we explain why that's important to have, if you're going to build a table or you're going to use this wood in your home, why it is really important. Because if you were to go out here, like I said, and we were to cut down a tree and run our sawmill through it and bring it back to you tomorrow and say, here you go do something with this wood, it would be, 6 months from now, it would look like and feel like a piece of elbow macaroni. It would be all cracked. It would break apart because the water is going to come out of it, no matter what you do.
Yeah, the kiln wastes about 20% of what we put in it. So say we put 1,000 board feet in it, we only get about 800 board feet out of it because a lot of it splits and cracks and breaks, and that's what it would do in your home. So the kiln, when it's done, how we know it's done, we have probes that go in the wood and we bring it below 8% moisture. And what that does is, if you think of a cell, it collapses the cells below 8% moisture and they can't hold water anymore. So you're basically killing the cells in the wood. And then if you get the wood wet, it won't hold the water. But if you only bring it down to like 15%, and you put water on that wood, it'll suck that water into the wood. So you have to bring it below 8% to kill the cells.
I see.
Fascinating.
It is.
It really is. Yeah.
There's a
And
lot more to it, really.
The kiln also kills any living organisms or any molds that might be in the wood too.
Yeah, bugs
So
in there.
that's also important.
I feel bad for any bug going through that.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Mhm.
So how can you tell if the dead cells are killed?
We have a moisture tester, and the guys get mad at me, but we test every board that comes out of the kiln. Because usually you'll find one spot where the air didn't circulate good and it'll be wet still. But we make sure our moisture tester runs below 8% on the entire board before we take it out of the kiln.
I don't know why they get mad at you.
because it's a
Well,
lot of repetitive.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
picturing that 20 foot by 15 foot, 10 foot tall building stacked full of wood, you're
Oh.
pulling them out one at a time.
Huh.
And the guys want to pull the skid steer in and pick it up and move it. Well, we can't. I make them pull out each board one at a time. We test it. Then we put it on the pile. And if it's still green, we put it in another pile, and then it goes back in the kiln again.
Yeah, because you want to make sure it's safe before you give it to your customers.
Yeah, I want to
That's
make sure,
right.
exactly. It's just product control, kind of.
How long does it take to run one load with checking every single board?
Oh, we can unload the kiln in about a day. That's 3 guys working nonstop, but it takes about 2 days to load it back up.
But a kiln cycle on average is about 4 weeks.
4 to 5 weeks.
Yeah, usually about 4 to 6 is what we average.
Yeah.
4 to 6 weeks. And so, sometimes people will call us and they're looking for a specific piece of wood. A lot of our customers make tables. We're currently making some mantles that are going to go in some new homes. We're doing some stair trim for railings and handrails and posts. We've got a table that we're getting ready to build for
floor.
a customer. We've got some white oak in our shop right now that it's going to we have a machine called a shaper machine, and it will put a tongue and groove edge on the wood so that the floor will all connect together whenever the guy installs it.
And that's a pretty special job.
Oh yeah.
It was, these logs, the lady brought these logs off of their Century farm. It's a 100-year-old farm that's been in the family that long. And they brought the logs to us. We cut them last year, dried them, and now we're making a floor for their house that they're redoing on that farm. So it's pretty neat.
That's very neat.
Wow.
Yeah, we get to be a part of some really special projects like
Yeah.
that. We had a customer 2 years ago bring us logs off of his family farm, and we processed those. And by processing those, it means we cut them, and then they went through the kiln. And then the next year, I guess it was last year in 2022, he came in and built furniture for all of his kids out of the wood off of his family farm. So
Super cool.
that was really, really neat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty cool.
Oh, one other thing I gotta point it out that they built a table for a country singer. Do you want to hit on that?
Sure. Or do you want to, Jimmy?
Yeah, you seem very excited about that.
So they built this table for Granger Smith and his family in honor of their son, and it was a whole thing. And they think they built benches, and it was a really cool thing. And
Yeah, it was a very cool experience.
What happened to the son around?
Their son tragically drowned, and they started a foundation for him. And we actually, it was right at the end of, I guess, 2020.
2020.
Yeah. At the end of that year, I think we went down to Texas and did a build down there with another, she's a YouTube maker, April Wilkerson, and Brandy Obey. And it was all filmed with Make 48. They were doing maker challenges that year. So we connected with Granger Smith and Amber. I connected with Amber, and we decided we would build a table for them in honor of their son. And it was really, really special. So yeah, we took a huge slab of tulip wood from our mill down there, and we spent the 48 hours over the weekend creating it. And Amber came, we put some scriptures that were, we put it on the CNC machine, the big slab, and it had some scripture inscribed in it. And when we got done, we delivered it on the way home. Tom and Bucky and I stopped and we delivered it to at that time, they hadn't built their new home yet, so it went into storage. But then the next summer, Amber wanted to know if we could make them a bench for it. And so we busted that out in a matter of about
3 days.
3 days.
Wow.
Because Granger was touring here in Missouri. And so we managed to get it done in time to get it to him up in Trenton, Missouri. So we took it over there, got to watch the concert backstage, and they got to, he took it with him home on his tour bus. So
Super cool.
Yeah. They're just
Super
awesome people. I adore Amber, and they are doing some amazing things themselves. I know Jimmy's a big Yee fan.
All right. Well, it appears we're approaching the the final minutes of our little episode here. So, do we have any final, questions and thoughts and things?
I guess I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
So, have you guys talked about the slab sales that you do every Saturday of each month?
No. So that's a good question. We whenever we were out in the country, we used to operate at a smaller, space. But once we moved into town, that out in the country is kind of one of the ways we grew our business also was by doing these pop-up random slab sale Saturdays. And we called them slab sales because we were trying to get people to come buy our live edge slabs of wood. And we would never know when we were holding those. So once we moved into town, the other thing that drives our business is the connection in our community, and trying to also bring more into our town for people to do while they're there. And we're talking like a little main street that didn't have much on it. So once we moved into town, we thought we could maybe kind of give our customers some expectations to know when we would be open on a certain Saturday of the month. So we do a slab sale on every third Saturday of the month. We're not open on every Saturday. We're only now open one Saturday a month, and then we're open through the week. But a lot of people are working through the week, so they're not able to make it up there, in the 9 to 5 business hours. So we are open on the third Saturday. Since we helped our friends, we twisted their arms into opening a coffee shop. So there's a coffee shop across the street from us.
Oh, that's great.
So there's also a Missouri wine and whiskey and alcohol shop that opened as well, and he goes around all over and sources different alcohols from around the state, and so he'll be open on the third Saturday. We started our belt sander races happening April through October on the third Saturday. And we are, like Bucky said earlier, we're trying to get, there's going to be a small bar open on the third Saturday. And then there's a pottery studio we just found out about that's moving into town, and they are hoping to open this spring. Aside from that, we try to make our third Saturdays an event now. So we try to do fun things. As soon as the weather warms up, we'll put some things together, but it's just a very family oriented actual, little main street to come shop. And our slab sale Saturdays are, they've come a long way from where
Very
they
busy.
were. Yeah, we're usually very busy.
Yeah.
Indeed.
We have all the guys come work them now.
Yeah, I bet. All right. Is there any final thoughts?
You said you guys are starting a bar. Maybe I come play and bring Pat with me to do some audio production stuff.
That sounds kind of fun, actually.
Hey, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Actually, there's a big lot that's empty right next to it, and we were wanting to have some bands like on the weekends out there and everything.
Yeah.
So
That'd be
And
cool.
bring
so
something
does,
to do.
Yeah.
And you could come play.
Yeah, you and Mackenzie could jam it out, and Patrick could help.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd do that.
Patrick's up running in front of the house.
I want to thank you guys for having us down here.
Heck yeah.
Yeah,
man.
I'm super glad this could happen.
Yeah.
And the equipment finally started working in my favor.
Yeah.
Funny little story is everything just decided it would not work. The recording software wasn't logging in, the internet wasn't connected, everything was just broken. So
But Patrick got it going.
I did.
Thank goodness
Yeah.
we got started. It was really cool.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to end this podcast. Thank you guys so much. If you want to follow us on social media, we are at KSSB Podcast on Instagram and or Twitter, and also Telegram. We have one of those channel thingies that we post updates to. So you can follow us there. If you want to email us, you can definitely email us feedback or anything else. You can send email to kssbpodcast@kssdb.org. So again, thank you everyone for showing up. And
Wait.
Yeah. And what?
And so where can we follow you guys at? Do you guys have a website, Facebook?
Yes, you can follow us at Miller's Rustic Sawmill on Facebook, Instagram, and that's also our website, millersrusticsawmill.com. We try to make it easy.
All
Thank
right.
you.
You're welcome.
Thanks for
Thank
having
you.
us.
Heck yeah.